For months, the entire competitive COD community has been anxious, waiting for OpTic Texas to announce who is going to be joining Shotzi and Dashy to round out their roster for the 2024 season. And this past weekend, we finally got our answer.
Get in now, big one-on-one on the other side of it. It's going to be easy. That's there. Another one going down to Pride. Pride continues to be huge. Just a couple of points in from either side. How does it go? You got one close, but it's Seattle that gets the win.
3 seconds left. Fourth act clock, the closest left. Coming in from the top. It's Kenny. Kenny fights two from the bridge. Fights the third as well. But inside the hard point, it's Aqua. It's a one-on-one. Aqua versus Kenny. Kenny hits it. Kenny wins it. He wins the game. A 1 second hard point game. TK do it again.
Kenny kills all four.
What does this roster move mean for OpTic Texas as they move into next year, and how do they stack up against the other top teams in the league? What does this also mean for OpTic's brand moving forward, and are Pred and Kenny really here to stay? It seems that everyone was positive Pred was going to be joining the OpTic roster following their efforts to trade for him earlier last season. I mean, even at Champs, many people were joking that the matchup between OpTic and Surge in the losers bracket was a custody battle for Pred. And it turns out that OpTic has really had that battle won for months now, especially after what they said on the live stream when they announced it.
I was been on this team for 8 months, a year now, so for me, it's just finally actually official. So
Just thinking about the sheer talent that Pred brings to this roster makes me extremely excited to watch them this coming season. And as a player who has had one of the most perfect come-ups a player could ask for coming out of Challengers, he's already solidified himself as the best Australian COD player in history in just a few short years. I mean, as one of the most talented players in the league, Pred is going to provide an incredible slaying power and consistency to a roster who needed both last year. Pred finished the year last year with a 1.15 overall KD as a sub player, which is even more impressive when you consider all the internal turmoil and chaos that was happening within the Surge organization the entire year. I mean, he dropped a 1.1 KD at every event, major, and qualifier between Major 1 and Stage 5. That's 7 straight tournaments if you were counting, and qualifiers, that he dropped a 1.1. Even Hydra could not put together a streak that consistent. That shows you how good of a player OpTic's getting right now. The biggest thing that I think that Pred is going to bring to this OpTic roster is his consistency. I mean, Shotzi, as exciting as he was to watch last year, can be very inconsistent at times, especially when he was on LAN last season. I mean, Hook's inconsistent stat lines did not really help him either, but having Pred alongside him dropping consistent 1.1s is going to take so much pressure off his shoulders and allow him to play the elusive and fast-paced style that he's really known for. And in addition to that, the Shotzi and Pred duo is going to be the hardest duo to kill in the league. I mean, imagine trying to break a hill, killing Shotzi, and then have to two-piece him with Pred. I mean, that would be the most frustrating thing I can imagine. Now, thinking about this on a global scale, OpTic is going to have the best player and most popular player in North America in Shotzi, and arguably the most popular player anywhere outside of North America in Pred. I mean, you could argue Hydra's close, but I mean, they're about the same in popularity, I would say. I don't know if there's any other team that could even attempt to match the global reach that OpTic's going to have this next year. I mean, Heretics could come close depending on who they sign and what they do with their marketing and their branding, but I still don't see them even touching the reach that OpTic's about to have. I really think Hex and all the staff at OpTic have done an incredible job securing him, and it really shows that they're trying to build for the future, regardless of if the times are uncertain or not. OpTic is going to become a global brand, and they're going to continue to grow, and I think signing Pred is going to help them become even more of a top dog globally. Fans were a lot more apprehensive with the acquisition of Kenny than they were with Pred, which honestly kind of baffled me. I mean, considering Kenny is an MVP, a world champion, who is also an Aches Miracle and Simp Takeover away from being a 3-time world champion. I mean, he's found success in every single role he's played. I mean, main sub, OBJ sub, flex, and main AR. He's done insane in every single role he's been in. And he also brings insane leadership skills to the table. I think that's exactly what OpTic needs. Sure, I mean, his stats haven't been incredible the past few seasons, but I really don't think that matters that much. Sure, during World War II, Kenny was able to take over a series because he was the most dominant sub player in the league, but that's not really the player that he is anymore, and that's not what OpTic needs him to be. They need someone who can keep pace with the other three, trade kills on the hill effectively, be solid in S&D, and be the leader of communication while dropping at least a 0.9 KD, and then just letting Shotzi, Pred, and Dashy fly around the map and slay out. Kenny has to be the best possible option to do those things out of almost anyone in the league, let alone anybody that was available in the current free agent market, especially since Drawza got picked up by FaZe. This season is going to be simultaneously the most pressure Kenny has ever had in his career on his shoulders, but also the least amount of pressure he's had in game. What do I mean by that? Well, who is the first person that's going to get dropped if this team starts off with a bad first half of the season next year? Surely it's got to be Kenny, right? With that in the back of his mind, he has to be feeling some sort of sense of urgency to succeed with arguably the most talented roster in OpTic COD history. However, since this roster is the most talented COD roster in OpTic history, a lot of the in-game pressure is going to get lifted right off of Kenny's shoulders. No longer does Kenny have to play like Superman in order for his team to win. He just gets to shoot back, play his role efficiently, and win. I mean, I feel like this is going to allow him to flourish really well, and with the reduced pressure lifted off his shoulders, I think Kenny has the potential for a real breakout year. This OpTic roster is going to be an incredibly entertaining roster to watch. Having Pred and Kenny on the OpTic podcast with weekly content coming out featuring them every week, I think they're going to bring in huge audiences. As long as they can win, this roster could rival the Dynasty both in-game and outside of the game with the amount of content and winning they'll be able to do. Pred and Shotzi really feel like they're going to be the future of the OpTic brand. With the sheer passion and energy Pred brings to every single match, it really reminds me of Prime Scump. They're both once-in-a-generation type of talent and personality combinations, and I can see Shotzi and Pred sticking together for many, many years, especially with the unknown future of competitive Call of Duty. I don't know why someone as talented as Pred would want to go anywhere else. And I also know that Hex is going to do absolutely everything he can to ensure that he keeps both of them. What about Dashy and Kenny, though? I really think Hex would move off of both of them if the team was not winning. As talented as Dashy is, he's been dropped before, and was supposed to be traded for Pred earlier last season, if you guys remember, but that didn't end up going through. So it shows you that he's very willing to move off of his players, and I think he's already had his fair share of issues with OpTic, and I think that would make him way more likely to be traded than Pred or Shotzi, obviously. Unfortunately, I think Kenny is very dispensable in my eyes. Unless this roster wins championships next year, I think he's honestly the first player to go, which is really sad because he's a very good personality and he's going to bring a lot of value to OpTic's content game. I think it may come down to whether Hex values winning over content, and in the past he's really made it clear that winning is the priority for his roster, so that should tell you the direction that they will head in if things start to go south. Overall, I'm really excited to watch this roster play. As a huge competitive COD fan, it makes me extremely excited to see one of the best players go to OpTic. I mean, I think the fact that OpTic's going to be able to go into every tournament being a favorite or top 2 favorite to win the tournament is really, really exciting. And the OpTic FaZe matchups next year are going to be absolutely insane. I think this year could be the most entertaining year to watch competitive COD. And I'm just excited for what this year holds.